Hey, what's up? It's Cam Peterson. Thanks for watching MotoAmerica on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow all of our content.
The heartbeat of racing is in the details.
30 seconds.
The focus.
Clean start.
The preparation. And the character that lives inside every rider. But in the end, all that matters is crossing the finish line first. The pursuit of a championship continues right now. You're locked into the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, the round MotoAmerica Superbikes at Road America. It's our fourth round of 10 for 2022 from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, from the famed Road America circuit. Everyone, welcome to Medallia Superbike. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time national champion. And Jason, well, today isn't like yesterday because this race has been declared a wet race, but it's kind of wet and it's kind of dry at the same time.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking for all the riders and crew right now making that right tire choice, and I think that we had a lot of rain overnight. We had a lot of rain this morning. Our sessions were cut a little bit short, so it's been a lot of craziness this morning. So we'll see which guys maybe take gambles and which guys choose to stay on the reins.
Here's race one highlights from yesterday. Jason, it started off a little chippy.
Yeah, number 1 and number 9. Gagne and Petrucci kind of get together in turn 5. No real finger pointing to blame there. We saw Cam Peterson lead this race only to have an issue. These guys came all the way down to the wire. Skoltz went up underneath Petrucci in turn 5. Petrucci tried to return the favor in the last corner, and you can see how close he got on that draft up to the line. But Matthew Skoltz goes ahead and wins in the dry and becomes our new championship point leader.
Taking a look inside the numbers, 6 podiums so far for Skoltz in those 7 starts and 125 points. And Jason, not noted here, it's been nothing but second place finishes and a win. And the third member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, is hanging out right now on the grid with Matthew Skoltz.
And I know that win was a relief to the team, so now they can just charge ahead and try and replicate those results. I'm here with Matthew Skoltz now. Matt, did much different conditions today than yesterday, and both Yamahas back up in front of you. How do we plan to do what you did yesterday once again?
We just have to play it out and see what happens from the first corner. I mean, I know that Jake's going to try to go flying, so maybe try to hang on to him and feel out the conditions and take it from there. But yeah, we're pretty much heading into the race blind, so it's going to have to take it as it comes.
Well, definitely going to have to switch it up and really just kind of play things by ear. As we move down the grid here, I want to talk to PJ Jacobsen. We're just passing by Hector Barber here. Got his first MotoAmerica podium yesterday. Now, for PJ Jacobsen, it was a really, really close, tight finish there with your teammate yesterday. I know you're still chasing that elusive podium. What's it going to take for you to really push it to that next level in this race?
Yeah, we'll see how this race goes. It's going to be quite interesting. I don't know if it's going to rain again or what, so the tire choice with slick or rain tire is confusing right now, but yeah, I think it's just going to be who manages their tire the best, and yeah, we'll see if I can get away with the front guys and see what we can do.
Best of luck out there, PJ. Thanks, guys.
You know, looking back at PJ, I expect him to be on the podium soon, Greg, as we're going to get a look at this track right now. Obviously, Road America, a staple on the MotoAmerica series for a number of years, and one of the riders' favorites. Are going to rip down that into turn 1. Out of turn 3, big draft and passes all the way down to turn 5. First lap down to there is so crucial to get through there nice and clean, up through 6 and 7, through that big long carousel. We spend so much time on the right side of the tire, and that's again where tires are going to be such a crucial thing here. Down to Canada corner, and then of course we saw a lot of action in turn 14 between the two first and second place riders, between Skoltz and Petrucci, and then you got that run up the hill to the checkered flag.
Well, that is a fantastic look at this track built in 1955, a natural road course. How about more of an intimate look into Road America with our very own Roger Hayden on his Ducati Fast Lap.
I'm on board the Ducati V4S here at Road America. And let's look at some key points at this long, fast track, starting at turn 1. Really hard braking. You see a lot of guys making a pass into here, pulling out of the draft early. Then turn 5. One of the most fun corners on this whole track. but it's also really tricky. You can get sucked in the draft, and then also it's downhill braking, so you'll see a lot of guys running wide. And then maybe the most important corner, turn 14. It is so important to get a good run out of this last corner because that is the run to the flag.
All right, Raj, we're about 4.5 minutes away from this race start, and Hector Barbera, who got his first career podium yesterday, got a lot of experience in these conditions. Can he do it again or be better at it?
So there's the one that really had to work his way up, Roger. Jake Gagne, that one miss yesterday, that one mistake, straight line early on in the race. He had the entire race to try and catch up to the field and work his way up to 5th. But again, I'm kind of surprised because we never saw really hardly ever a mistake out of Jake Gagne. I mean, maybe one time slightly run off the track. Here was yesterday just charging in too hard on the first lap.
Yeah, I just got in turn 5 too deep. He was, wanting to lead out of there and try to pull away, and then he tipped over in the gravel. I think if he wouldn't have had that tip over in the gravel, he would have got on the podium and maybe still had a chance for the win.
Yeah, if he could have circled around, even been off now, he'd been gone, he had a chance. But again, he had to work his way through the entire field, past 20 riders plus, caught up to 5th, salvaged a lot of points. 5th place gives you 11 points. That could be the championship difference, that hard charge.
Yeah, he kept himself within one race. I mean, if he doesn't get up and charge through the pack, he could have easily got 0 points. So, and I'm going to tell you, this race is going to be tricky. These conditions are really hard when the track isn't soaking wet and it's starting to dry. I mean, they are almost slicker now than they are when it's pouring down wet, just because, I don't know, when the asphalt is just barely wet, it's just really slick. And then also the top speeds here, there's so many long straightaways and there's no puddles. The middle of the tire can get so hot and can start coming apart toward the end of the race.
Because it's designed to run in the rain. There's no intermediate tire. There's no blended tire here. It's either full wet or you have the harder compounds.
And what makes them the wet is they're really, really, really soft.
Yes.
So, and that's another reason why they can get really hot really quick. If there's no puddles, you'll see guys, especially headed to Cannon Corner where that little puddle is. I imagine there'll be people looking to go through there, but the race is only 8 laps also, so it might help.
Yeah, that might help that tire last longer. Let's take a look back at Matthew Skoltz and his charge up, getting by Danilo Petrucci. It looked like it was going to be this 2-man race, and we saw Matt being aggressive. He needed to be aggressive. No bumping there. He just dove underneath, but then Danilo would shoot by on the straights.
Yeah, Danilo actually, in the straightaways, looks like he was a little stronger than Matt. They both had their strengths and weaknesses. This was the last lap. Matt put a really good pass on Danilo. I think he wanted to get away, and Danilo tried in the last corner and just couldn't make it. I think Matt knew that he wasn't going to be able to draft by him and held on to the lead, and they had a good last lap battle.
And in that last turn also, I think Danilo could have probably pushed the issue and maybe even pushed Matt a little wider if he wanted to. Today, I have a feeling if it comes to that again, he's going to push it wider.
I think if it comes to that again at any other track, not just today.
Okay.
He's gonna take that opportunity.
Because he said, okay, you want to be that way, I've got to do that. If you're going to do it to me, I've got to do it to you. And I talked to Ronald Ferracci yesterday, and he said, wait till today. He's like, he's going to be more aggressive today.
Yeah, and he said the pass was hard and was cool with it. So I think now he's like, okay, this is how we race. We're really tough on people.
All right, listen to the guys next door. Can't wait. Medallia Superbike in blended conditions.
Medallia Superbike coverage is sponsored by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Broken clouds with some rain on and off all day. Right now the track seems to be drying, but it's still wet, Jason, as we set up for Medallia Superbike race number 2. It's a little crazy in terms of what the tire choice is going to be. And Jay, as we look at our starting grid, what we know is the first 3 rows all have rain tires on.
Yeah, they all have rains. Gagne, Peterson, Petrucci, Skoltz, Barbera, and PJ Jacobson. PJ with a lot of experience in BSB on wet tracks, but like you said, Greg, it's dry in here. We got Yates, Gilliman, Lewis with Escalante, Pegram, and David Anthony outside of row 4. And then we go back to Wyman Alexander and Jason Farrell, who I don't know if he made the start of this race, but we'll see. Flinders, May, and DeBrino on the outside of row 6. Bobier, Gerardo, and Michael Gilbert, along with Posh, Lampkin, and Danilo Lewis. A little further back, we got Kuna, Waters, Dunham, Perk, Meist, and Rissinger. You know, Greg, the thing is that when these riders went out for this warm-up lap, I saw them all go down into turn 1 as we have Coffey and Butler on the last row there. I saw them all go down into turn 3, and all of them were going extremely slow, which tells me it's getting dry. They do not want to waste these tires, and you can see see how slow they're going right now? They're all going slow. You got a little bit of water back there, but everyone's going slow because they don't want to overheat these rain tires right now.
And they're going to be looking for any puddles.
100%. And that's going to be the hard thing, is they're going to funnel down. You can see here, left side of your screen on the track, it's very, very wet. Right side of your screen, where a lot of the riders are going to be riding, is going to be dry. So when you go into certain sectors, right now a warm-up lap is even more important than normal. On a normal warm-up lap, you're trying to get as much heat into your tires as you can for the start of the race. On a warm-up lap now, with soft rain tires that don't take that much heat to get into them, it's more about really looking at the surface, looking at where you want to put yourself in the first lap or two. So these warm-up laps are a little different kind of importance.
Let's check in with Hannah. What's up, Hannah?
Well, guys, it is not currently raining out here. Definitely very overcast, but nothing coming down from the sky. I walked down the grid to take a look. Every rider that I saw has rains on both front and rear, and I double-checked with Dunlop, and they said no one's on slicks right now. So if it starts raining, they'll be in luck. But if it starts to dry out, then things could change.
Yeah, and because it's declared a wet race, Jason, that plays into it as well.
Well, the other thing that you can think about, Greg, is what do they always do to these bikes when it's wet? They soften them up, okay? So when you're on rain tires and they soften them up, well, now if the track continues to dry with a soft setup, especially on softer rubber, it's going to make a big difference to these riders as they go around this track, and especially being 4 miles long. So I wouldn't be surprised if a few of them are hoping it kind of rains a little bit. Obviously, we'd love to see a dry race, but we've got a crazy race getting ready to start here.
So it is Medallia Superbike race number 2, and revs are up. When you see these lights go off, we're going for it. And Danilo Petrucci, a little bit of a wheelie on the start. We'll see if that Ducati can make it up. Is that our pole sitter?
Going straight backwards. The bike was weaving all over the place, and you can see Gagne is going to be mired back in 8th or 9th place. But I'll tell you, Greg, it's a different feel when you're on rain tires in the dry. So there are some wet patches, but you're going to see a lot of this track is dry. So Petrucci, who we know is so amazing in the rain, we watched him win at Le Mans in MotoGP in the rain. But again,
he goes wide.
Wet tires on dry track. Cam Peterson goes to the front. Now he's going to have to deal with Schultz pulling up to the right side of him. And I'm looking for Gagne to see where Jake is back there. I don't even see him. 4th place right now is one of the BMWs as they charge down into turn 5 on this opening lap.
Fresh and lean, progressive Yamahas. Cameron Peterson leads the way. There's the number 1 plated. Jake Gagne, his teammate, Cameron Peterson, yesterday, and talking to the crew this morning about his DNF, his did not finish. I asked them what was wrong with the bike, and they didn't know for sure, but they were thinking it was something like a fuel pump issue. But Petrucci trying to get comfortable. He's got a little bit of experience, does the Italian number 9 on that fresh and lean, or on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York machine. He was able to test, and there goes
PJ
Jacobsen feeling comfortable. He goes by Matthew Schultz. So all of a sudden, we have a Tyler Cycle BMW M1000 RR up in the mix.
Yeah, these kind of conditions, man, you got to feel them out. And I can't explain to the viewers at home what an odd feeling it is to be on rain tires with soft springs or softer springs if they've chosen to do that on a drying racetrack. The feel is very, very awkward and spongy almost. As you can see, Gagne has gone through on Matthew Schultz there. From a very bad start was Gagne. I think the danger man here really is Petrucci. He's probably got a lot of experience in these kind of conditions where he's been on rain tires in the past. But how about Cam Peterson? We talked a little bit about him in the past and how he has struggled getting those first 1 or 2 laps in the bank as far as getting good starts and getting out and leading. He did a nice job of it yesterday before encountering some problems, and he's done it again today.
Fresh and lean, progressive Yamahas. Cameron Peterson coming under fire from Danilo Petrucci. So Petrucci goes up the inside, not leaving Peterson much room. And here comes pulling the trigger on that Panigale V4R. And look at Peterson.
Wow.
Now that might be an indicator in terms of what Ducati's given power-wise, but Petrucci's able to get right back around him. And you can see at the top end starts to pull a little bit of a gap. And there's PJ on the 66. So Jacobsen just a couple bike lengths behind, and your number 1 plate.
And again, PJ with a lot of experience worldwide. Don't forget, He's ridden World Supersport, World Superbike. He did a season or two in British Superbike, where I'm sure these kind of conditions were happening quite often to him. So PJ's going to feel comfortable, or more comfortable, even with a year off last year and on a new bike and a new team. He's still not going to feel that uncomfortable in these conditions. So you can see he's not that far back as we get a great shot from the Lucas Oil helicopter high above Road America as they break down now into turn 5.
Oh!
Cam Peterson and Petrucci come together.
Boy, so Petrucci left Camp Pete with no room at all. That was so close as Peterson has a look over his shoulder, and Petrucci continues to get roughed up here in MotoAmerica, as now Petrucci looks like he's going to put his head down and try to make a break. He doesn't want to fool around any longer.
I just think that Petrucci sat up and broke. I didn't see anything necessarily wrong. I think that he sat up and broke, and Cam just wasn't ready to break yet, and so he ended up getting into the back of Petrucci. See this? He just sees Petrucci just broke. He wasn't doing anything necessarily wrong. That's probably a little bit of track experience as well, and that's just kind of a racing incident. I don't think Cam meant to get into the back of Petrucci at all there. So, but PJ Jacobsen continues to chip away at the two leaders. Looking at Gagne there in 4th. He's not gaining any ground really on these guys at the moment.
Yeah, but looking at the 3 up front pushing right now, it looks like PJ Jacobsen and his BMW are a little bit softer of a setup, as PJ's really having to work the motorcycle and get it slowed down. Petrucci looking awfully good right now in that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale.
And PJ's arguably probably the lightest rider of these 3 as well. So it, again, the amount of weight or the amount of load that he's putting into his tires might be a little bit less. It might be enough to help keep his tires in maybe a little bit better shape. He has now gotten to the back of that Yamaha of Camp Peterson as Petrucci stretches it just a little bit through turn 13. We'll see if the BMW, the Tytler's BMW, has the horsepower to run with these 2 up the front straightaway here now as we get ready to come out of this last corner. You're going to see PJ Jacobsen get behind that bubble, get in the draft. He'll feel a double draft from both the bikes ahead of him, and you can see the bikes oscillating, Greg, moving around on those rain tires.
It looks like PJ's got some legs on that BMW M1000RR, and he gets by Cameron Peterson. So a good drive on a very new program. Really, Jason, not even half a year old for the Tytler cycle effort. And PJ Jacobsen moves himself into 2nd place, and he's looking forward at Danilo Petrucci.
Petrucci actually turns in really early for turn 3, so it kind of hurts his exit a little bit. So let's see if these guys, you can see PJ using a lot of body English, getting this bike off the turn 3 there, and you can see how fast that Tytler's BMW is as he's going to go down the left side without even using the draft. PJ Jacobsen on the Tytler's BMW leads down into turn 5.
How about PJ Jacobsen on the 66, taking over the lead early in the race, scheduled for 8 laps with about 5.5 to go. And Jacobsen, with all that experience from his World Championship days, putting it all to good use right now.
Yeah, right now PJ is just super comfortable, and he even said, you could see body English again, and he's actually looking for some of the wetter parts at the racetrack. These tires are going to disintegrate over the next 3, 4, 5 laps, Greg, if they continue to put the heat in them. You can see again moving over to the left, trying to get himself into a little bit more moisture. That was the pass for the lead down the back straightaway. He was leading as they went down into turn 5.
And you can see our live shots in the right part of the screen. PJ went a little bit wide into the carousel, has given up a little bit of that gap that he has as they go into the chicane. PJ will maintain the lead.
He's looking for damp patches. That's what these guys are all going to start to do, right? Because it's, you know, the track is essentially right now. If you had to start the race now, I think a lot of guys would probably start on slicks as Pete. And now Cam Peterson gets an amazing drive out of the chicane. Look at the bikes moving around. See PJ moving over to the right? That's him looking for some moisture on the track to try to help cool these tires down ever so slightly.
Cameron Peterson goes by Petrucci, who was your points leader yesterday, is behind Matthew Skoltz by 1 point in this championship, but Skoltz has faded all the way down to 8th place. And you could hear him when he talked to Hannah. He just had no confidence. Petrucci going to go back up the inside of Cam P. So Petrucci moves himself back to 2nd. And we've got a barn burner on our hands as PJ Jacobsen has a look behind him to see who's there.
Yeah, the other thing too, Greg, is you can see the Yamaha gets an amazing drive out of that last corner. He pulls up alongside Petrucci and will try to make the pass down into turn 1. As Petrucci now makes the pass off PJ Jacobsen, and Peterson goes under him.
Wow, Jason, I'm going to tell you something. As we look at Petrucci, he's having a good run at it, but with the way that team is so sophisticated with their electronics, it wouldn't surprise me if the power they reduced for the rain setup has kind of choked that bike off in certain spots. Let's get down to Hannah.
And talking to Petrucci, he's done really well in MotoGP. He's won there in the rain in the past. Coming over to MotoAmerica, he said at a test they did at VIR in really cold conditions, he only got about 25 laps on these rain tires. So between that and it being a new track this weekend, he's really had to try and figure out a good way to get himself up to speed. And also, you know, battling such a long list of injuries from over the course of the last 6 months and the crash that he had in the last round, he said, luckily in these conditions, it'll be a lot more mentally challenging than physically.
Yeah, and now, with the way things are shaping up, we've had such incredible racing going on so far. It sorts itself out where fresh and lean progressive Yamaha's Cameron Peterson has taken the point. Last time by the stripe, it was P.J. Jacobsen, Petrucci, and Peterson. Jake Gagne's lurking in the back, not too far off. And in 5th place, yes, you don't have sleep in your eyes, it is Larry Pegram, the worm himself, who comes out of retirement. The number 73 Pegram is back in 5th place on the Tytler Cycle Racing BMW M1000RR.
Yeah, I had some really good talks with Larry over the last day here, and he was excited to be back. As you get a look here at Gagne, still kind of rolling around in 4th, not quite capable of bridging the gap to those top 3 riders at the moment, but Pegram running 5th place is a pretty cool story. And you can see now Cam Peterson trying to get away a little bit.
This has been such an interesting race, a seesaw battle. The Ducati looks really strong in some sections, but it definitely doesn't have the dominance it had yesterday in the dry and the straightaways.
Well, he's really good under braking. Petrucci's really good under braking, but he dives into the corners a little tight. You'll see it when they get to turn 3 in a minute. We saw it the last time, as it now looks like P.J. Jacobsen is trying his best to get back into the draft of the Ducati as they come down the front straightaway. But you'll see when they go to turn 3, Petrucci kind of gets in there tight, and the other guys get off the corners just a little bit better than the Ducati. So the Ducati strength is definitely under braking as well as having good horsepower. But look at the Yamaha R1 stretch its legs at the moment. And here comes P.J. Jacobsen again from our Lucas Oil helicopter shot. You can see that front straightaway and the differences in speed in the bikes all pretty close. Now, like I was saying, Greg, they're going to come out of turn 2 here, or turn 1, run down this hill, and watch how tight Petrucci goes into turn 3 here. He's going to get the bike in, and he's going to turn it in sooner. See that?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a strategy that Danilo Petrucci has. And you can see there, it's not too bad in terms of the little bit of moisture on the racetrack as they put up a little spray.
They're staying on the left-hand side to try to get that moisture onto the tire, and P.J. Jacobsen's able to draft back past that Ducati as they go down in turn 5. As you can see, the bike's just wiggling around. And, you know, we see that anyways under hard braking, don't we? Normally, even in the dry. But it just gets magnified so much with a little bit softer setups, and especially on these Dunlop rain tires.
And you keep seeing that little fire burst coming out of the exhaust of P.J. Jacobsen. That's nothing to concern yourself with. That's just the way that they have the fuel injection system lined up, and there's a little bit of extra fuel that's in the pipe, and it burns off. So it's really a strategy of how they have the, I want to say the jets like it's a carburetor, but really the fuel injection and the electronics. So Cameron Peterson continues to lead the way on that fresh and lean progressive Yamaha racing machine. That's the R1. And Jay, we have about 3.5 laps to go. He's ahead of Warhorse HSBK Racing, Ducati New York's Danilo Petrucci in 3rd, and then the Tytler Cycles Racing number 66 of P.J. Jacobsen, who got pipped at the line by his teammate Hector Barbera, who's all the way down in 13th today. So Barbera not looking good to repeat on the podium. Now those 3 riders weren't that desperate to go through that puddle. Gagne was behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now, especially when you're chasing, and you can see PJ is doing a nice job of closing that gap up a little bit. This guy here, Gagne might just be in that mode of like, all right, I got to get out of here with some points. Had a little bit of bad luck yesterday. We saw him come from picking his bike up in the gravel in turn 5 to ending up 5th. And, you know, I think he started the day 23 points back, Greg. So right now, Cam Peterson and P.J. Jacobsen are doing Gagne a favor if they can stay ahead of Danilo. But, you know, when you think about it, it's for him, he just hasn't been able to bridge that gap to the leaders. Look at P.J. Jacobsen now. He's in the draft of that Attack Performance Progressive Insurance Yamaha.
And there goes P.J. Jacobsen. You can see by the shadows on the ground, he didn't quite have the momentum to pass the fresh and lean progressive Yamaha racing machine. As PJ Jacobsen looks like he's trying to line something up, and he just goes fastest lap of the race at a 2:29.327, which was a good 7/10 quicker than our race leader. Tip of the cap still to Larry Pegerman 5th, but Ashton Yates on the aftercare Hayes Scheibe Racing BMW, the older model, the S1000RR.
Wow,
up into 6th place.
Look at the draft. PJ Jacobsen,
is there any room?
He just couldn't quite make that pass work as he thought about trying to get down the inside of Cam Peterson on the left-hand side, but it gets tight down there when you roll the throttle off and you start getting on the binders for turn 5. They've opened up a tiny little bit of a gap over Petrucci, but I don't think, maybe he's a little bit getting further back there. But man, Greg, you really can't say enough about the Tyler's BMW team. I mean, brand new team to the series. They have a major footprint in our paddock. They've got 4 riders, 5 this week, and 6 actually when you consider Zach Schumacher and Larry Pegram now. So really this team has done a nice job putting these BMWs together. And to see PJ after a year off, finishing second, running second, what do you got for us, Hannah?
When I caught up with PJ and his crew chief Scotty Jensen earlier, they were talking to me, about PJ's experience in the rain. They did get a test day in the wet, and they tried to build on that setup for here this weekend. But Scotty said, he's got a lot of experience in the wet, and he's really confident in PJ's capabilities, and it's really showing his experience right now.
Man, that tire though, G-Dub, you could see the BMW definitely moving around a little bit more than the other bikes, I would say. And we've been talking about the softness of the Dunlop rain tires, but Greg, they're pretty durable. Like, you can run a lot of laps, a lot more laps than you think you can in dry. I've been stuck on track in endurance championship races where you've been out there for a long time, and sort of 20 minutes into a rain session it gets dry, so you're 40 minutes more on a rain tire. They will last, but they will definitely start to move around depending on each rider's setup. And right now Cam's bike looks pretty stable and set up at the front, but PJ is good enough to get into this last corner. You see him getting in there, opening up the arc of that corner, trying to carry roll through the middle so he can be a little nicer under acceleration on that tire. You see how he's getting the bike upright and has a little bit of that body English. Now let's see if he has anything for Cam down the front straightaway.
Another lap ticks by. 29.6. Petrucci with the fastest lap of the race, 29.3. So Petrucci's not done yet.
Nope.
He's pushing hard. But PJ Jacobsen, the question is, these rain tires are completely different from slicks. They're softer just in the rubber compound like Jason was talking about, but also there's these deep blocks that create the water channeling. And so as the heat gets in them, the actual rubber starts to reduce, and that's why you see a lot of movement from PJ's bike, because those blocks are so deep and so thick that they don't create the stability that the slick tire has under braking. And that bike's set up pretty soft. But in talking to Richard Stamboli, who's the crew chief for Cameron Peterson on that fresh and lean progressive Yamaha, we talked about the different types of rain setups. And I'm pretty sure that the rain setup that they have, that Cam Peterson has, is more of like a dry weather setup in terms of spring rates, Jason, and some other bits and components on the bike. But what they do is they just back out the preload, they back out a little bit of compression and rebound. And so that's going to allow this bike to be a little bit better as opposed to going to a full range setup, which would be change the springs, make them softer on the forks and of course on the shock and some other bits and pieces. So my guess would be this would be more of a medium
type of, I see what you're saying.
Kind of a halfway wet setup.
And the crews and things and riders, they're going to have been watching some of the other races prior and looking at what track conditions look like. As you can see, they're coming up on number 31, Jeff Perk. Going to put a lap on him. It's a very, very hard thing to set up a bike. And you heard Matthew Schultz say we're kind of going off into the dark here. And if your setup works, it's great. If it's a little bit off, it's horrible. And you can see PJ looking back there over his shoulder as now they're going to go past Jeff Perk down the back straightaway on the way to Canada Corner. Really like seeing what I saw out of Petrucci. He's on another decent lap as Petrucci. He's got to get himself just a little bit closer so that he can take advantage of the draft. And see how the mid-corner speed between the two in front and the Ducati aren't quite there? Danilo makes up a lot of time on the brakes, but gets the bike a little overslowed mid-corner. So PJ's back on it now, though, Greg. He can actually draft.
Yeah, this section of the race course for PJ seems to be great. He's got it dialed in. The question is, they're going to come to the white flag, Jason. If you're PJ, do you really show your cards right now, or do you wait as Petrucci going to the inside of the racetrack? So here goes PJ. He pulls out of the draft. He went fastest lap of the race for a moment, but then it goes to Petrucci at a 28.7. So the new leader, the number 66 of PJ Jacobsen, he goes right to the apex, doesn't give Cam Peterson an opportunity to pass. But we'll see how hungry Peterson is on the brakes. He just had a long time to follow and learn.
And with the advancement of the wings and things and the downforce that BMW is putting down, could you see when he was drafting Cam how much the bike was wiggling around underneath him as he pulled out of the draft? So PJ is hungry for this win right now, and you can see Cam P now is in the draft as they head down into turn 5. PJ's going to do a nice job of defending that position. Cam's not going to be close enough to do anything with him here. And all the while,
PJ's wide.
He is wide. He's gone in there a little bit too deep. Now Cam's going to just tell himself, I got to get my head, put it down. Now we're getting into the part of the track where Petrucci seems to shine. He's able to close back up on these guys, going all through this section, all the way down to the chicane.
And for PJ Jacobsen and the Tytler's Cycle team, they're local. They're up the street in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They would love a race win here and have a bunch of people go and buy a BMW from him.
Cam just absolutely killed it out of turn 7.
He certainly did.
That right-hander there, he really did a nice job of getting that bike turned, get it up off the edge of the tire and get it through. And look what he's doing right now. He is pulling a gap down as they go through the carousel. I think myself that PJ's right side of his tire is shot, and you can see he's going to try to make up time. Now remember, PJ's incredible in the last sector, but look at what's happened here. Second split of the race, Greg.
Absolutely. Fastest one by Cameron Peterson. He's trying to set sail and win his second Medallia Superbike race of his career. Cameron Peterson, who got this deal this year, the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha team. It's a 2-year deal for Cameron Peterson. He's had a very interesting open to his career with the Yamaha, as Cameron Peterson felt a couple times he was rushing things. Tried to go as fast as his teammate, would make some mistakes, but now just a couple corners away from a big win, standing on top of the podium. The final corner for the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha racer, Cameron Peterson. Onto the front straightaway we go. The checkered flag is flying and awaiting. Cameron Peterson, the South African, comes up on top of the straightaway, and he will take the win here in Medallia Superbike. PJ Jacobsen on the podium, holding off Danilo Petrucci. And in this championship fight, Jake Gagne will lose a couple points to Petrucci, but it's eyes on Matthew Skoltz. Where will he come across the line? He was leading this championship by a single point.
And how about this guy, Larry Pegram, number 73. We're so used to seeing him being number 72, and he is going to come across the line in 5th place for this Tytler's Cycle BMW team. Wow.
The Worm, the former factory rider, comes across line in 5th, Ashton Yates in 6th, and we're still awaiting Matthew Skoltz, but it's all about this South African, Cameron Peterson, who sets the fastest lap of the race on the last lap, a 2:27.477, not giving anyone an opportunity to get by him, and he finally gets the job done as he takes a look at his rear Dunlop tire, and you can see it is well worn, but still with some tread on it. What a run, being congratulated by his teammate, Jake Gagne.
Hey man, we've been waiting for this for Cam. We've been saying a long time how good this young man is, and he is with a great team, and he just had to be a little bit patient, get his expectations in check. I mean, look, everybody wants to win. He's got a great teammate who I know is going to be supportive, and yeah, this makes me really happy to see Cam Peterson win this race today. And we saw him leading and doing a great job yesterday, only to have a mechanical failure, unfortunately, down in turn 5. But this one's going to feel pretty sweet.
We came into this race weekend, Jason, with only 2 race winners on the season. It was Petrucci and Gagne. And in 2 races, we've doubled it. We had Matthew Skoltz, his first race win of the season yesterday. And now Cameron Peterson gets his. Here's some of the passes. Jason, this race was crazy at the beginning.
Yeah, keep in mind there, that was like a double pass that we saw there, because Cam actually ended up going past both of them. And PJ took the lead with a couple to go. I just think that when we talk to him, he'll tell you that the right side of his tire was a little bit roached, and you see he gets into turn 5 a little bit on the last lap there, but this guy put his head down. As soon as he saw PJ make that mistake, the 45 Cam Peterson went on a tear. He went the fastest splits of sector 2 and 3 of the race, along with his personal best fastest sector in sector 4. So the thing is that he just put the hammer down there at the end and did a really nice job there.
What a race by Cameron Peterson. He didn't have it all his way either. He really had to fight for it. And you can see, if you're frequent to Medallia Superbike class, looking at Cam Peterson's leathers, you can see those knee pucks. Those are some Alpine Stars, kind of double thickness knee pucks. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Cameron Peterson about that incredible victory.
So many things to talk about, Roger Hayden, as Cam Peterson takes the victory, and it's not the first time we've seen him win in the rain before. We saw him in last year's campaign with the rain victory. But you have to feel good for Cam because it was a mechanical problem yesterday that took him out of it. Still don't know exactly what happened, but mechanically he was sound, and as a racer he was sound today.
Yeah, he's been good all weekend. I mean, from the very first practice on Friday, he's been on pace. Been either first or second in every session, and yesterday's race was a good opportunity for the win, and just didn't happen. You see going down here in turn 5 on the last lap, PJ, I think, used his tire up more and just couldn't get it stopped there. And at that point, Cam just put his head down and put the next couple sectors together really well and pulled out a gap.
I said that to you earlier, and you see how aggressive PJ was to get up near that front. I said he's going to burn that thing up. He's going to ride it as hard as he can go, and if it burns it up, it burns it up. It's kind of what happened, and I think if you would say he probably played it just right. I mean, he got himself in a position to possibly, if it lasted, it didn't, and he still held on to second.
Yeah, I mean, he was right there, but you could tell in some of the straightaways too, PJ's bike was moving around a lot.
You were freaking out.
He had a big moment in the carousel, and I think that kind of was his first warning, but then he made another charge toward Cam. But you can see Cam on this last lap, whatever was left of his Dunlop green tire, he used it on the last lap.
Yeah, he pushed really, really hard and tried to get a little of that separation. Also, I saw Cam Peterson on a couple of laps to go. Really was able to hold his position when he was out in front. Being that lead rider down that front straightaway, he knew he needed a little bit more of a gap. You could see right there, PJ just searching for any kind of standing water he could find.
And look at his bike. You see how much moving through there? You
were freaking out. Every time you'd see him, even on that front straightaway, the bikes are usually very stable under, hard driving like that. His bike was anything but stable. But the rain tire is only designed to be ridden in the rain. That was not... 9 or 10 out of 10, everybody would have started slicks if it finished, if it started the way it finished.
Yeah, and they probably wish they would have once they got going. But Danilo was a good ride too. Just got close but couldn't make the draft.
And even he's still questioning, how those tires would react with that bike in this situation. He has the opportunity to do it again. He might do something a little bit differently, but tip your hat to Cam Peterson. 5th in the championship points after getting that 0 yesterday. He'll get by Hector Barbera. He actually, he'll move up into 4th. But Jake Gagne, solid, conservative ride, it looked like in 4th. And Matt Scholz cannot be happy about that run, finishing 8th. He held off Danilo Lewis for that 8th spot.
Yeah, I'm really not sure because Matt is really strong in the wet.
Yes.
And I don't know, if he has that 1-point lead, if that kind of was more cautious or what. So I'm not really sure what went on with Matthew Scholz because I figured he'd be a guy that'd be toward the front. Maybe he played it safe, got 8th place points, or maybe he had an issue.
Want to give a shout out to Larry Pegram, Worm. I didn't get to see him this weekend. Maybe grab a cocktail with him after on that Tytler's BMW Strong Run, taking 5th for him. And I thought that Jason Pridmore was going to say Larry Pegram's 73 years old.
He's close. He's close.
He's only 72. But again, great job by Worm, and good to have him back in MotoAmerica. I'm still happy for the South African Cam Peterson. Oh, what a run. Jake Zemke down there giving him some accolades as well. But the fresh and lean progressive Yamaha team, they had the setup. You knew that they had a wet rain plan electronically. Looked like that bike was able to handle it all, and Cam Peterson paid it off.
Yeah, he just has that team has a lot of experience in all conditions, and just looked like Cam's bike, was set up a little bit better toward the end. You see there, you can just tell he had a little bit more tire. You can see all the guys talking about just how much they're pushing. You see how much those tires they wore.
Yep,
there was
up at the top you can see some
left.
Yeah, you can see some chewing off there as well. And that tire again, it gets hot, it starts chewing it up. It's the softest of soft. But you see that smile? That's a happy smile for Cam Peterson. Congratulations, send it back to the guys next door and wrap up Medallia Superbike.
Cameron Peterson coming into victory circle, celebrations all around, and why not? What a spectacular race win. Tom Halverson at Yamaha Racing with a big hug for Cameron Peterson after they took a chance and hired him this season. and it paid off by our 4th round here in Medallia Superbike. Richard Stamboli is crew chief as well. Let's take a look at those results, Jason, because this is not a typical results panel you see in Medallia Superbike at all.
No, P.J. Jacobson ends up only 1.3 back, with Petrucci 1.7 back. Then our defending champ, Jake Gagne, 4th, Larry Pegram 5th. How about Ashton Yates ends up getting 6th on that bike? Then we got Jake Lewis. Matthew Sculp's a little hit today, but he got those points, Greg. Danilo Lewis ends up 9th. And a shout out to Justin Meest, who ends up finishing 10th in this race. Justin on the Kawasaki.
Let's get right down to Hannah with our winner, Cameron Peterson.
And it's a career 2nd victory for Cameron Peterson, and he did it in fine style. Cam, take me through all the different steps of that race. How did you get here?
Yeah, it was a wild race. You know, we went out on the siding lap, and I was like, it's going to be way too wet for slicks. And then after, you know, we sat on the grid for a while, went out on the warm-up lap. I was like, man, you know what? Slicks might have been the answer. And honestly, Richard the whole time, he was like, I think we should go on slicks. I think we should go on slicks. And it was a crazy race, you know. I knew I had those 2 guys behind me. We went back and forth a little bit, but I would say with like 4 laps into the race, I mean, it was pretty scary on these wets. We were spinning up everywhere, all the way down the straightaways, just tuck in front everywhere. So it was so much fun. So stoked I was able to get the win. And honestly, you know, I knew PJ might have had the opportunity to draft me to the line, so I just did everything I could on that last lap. I mean, I had a few scary moments out there, but yeah, I wasn't going to give it up that easy. You know, I wanted this so bad. So, you know, yesterday was a bit of a bummer, but to bounce back like this, I mean, the team once again did an amazing job. So I can't thank everybody in my corner, Yamalube, Yamaha Financial Services, the whole Progressive, Fresh and Lean Attack Yamaha team. I mean, those guys are just awesome. I absolutely love every second I spend there. To my guys, Lee, Will, Fernando, Richard, everybody in the team, seriously, thank you for an awesome weekend, and let's just keep this ball rolling.
Toward the start of the race, you and Petrucci kind of got together. Tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that was a little bit of my bad. I just wasn't expecting him to sit up that quickly, and so by the time he got on the brakes, it was a little bit too late. I didn't have much room on the inside. I couldn't really move around while I was on the brakes, and yeah, unfortunately, I just smoked his leg, you know. I locked up the front a little bit, grabbed my front lever. So that was a scary one, but I was still able to get it stopped. Yeah, I mean, just all around such a fun race battling with these 2 guys, and yeah, finally got the second win of my career, so hopefully we get many more this season.
Now that you've kind of got that monkey off your back, if you will, that stress, you know that you can get a victory. How easy do you think it'll be to replicate this moving forward to some of the different tracks on our calendar?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just feeling at home on this motorcycle. You know, this is the first weekend where I've really felt connected with the bike, and you know, once again, I did it in sketchy conditions, so it'd be nice to get one in a bone dry race and be fair and square. But you know, we're chipping away at it every single weekend, trusting the process, listening to what these guys have to tell me, and yeah, sooner or later we're going to get there. So I'm so happy, and thanks to all the fans for sticking out in this crazy weather. You know, it's wasn't easy today, so thanks to everybody, and we'll see you next year.
Cameron Peterson trusting the process all the way to the top step of the podium, guys.
Yeah, he certainly is. And Jason, let's talk about being connected to the bike. What he talks about, it's his first weekend. What is he talking about?
Well, he's just starting to finally feel like the motorcycle is his. And it's a nice feeling when you show up at the track and you know what you're going to be getting yourself on. And I just can't stop using the Bobier Gagne reference enough, because we saw Gagne go 1 year on this bike, and then the camera moves on. Gagne comes up and wins. It's going to be a lot like this. Let's get back down to Hannah.
Second place today. His first career podium in the Superbike class and for Tytler Cycle Racing. P.J. Jacobson, an incredible back and forth battle, especially at the end. They're putting a lot of pressure on Cameron Peterson. What was the strategy as those laps wound down?
Yeah, you know, I was actually the most nervous about the start because just spinning and stuff. So I got a pretty bad start, and you know, I just tried to get up to the first couple positions there and just stay with these guys. And then, you know, I was looking for water all the time because it was like drying. So I was just trying, but it seemed like it wasn't really working for us. Every time like any of us tried to go in the water and the straightaway to cool the tires, or I was even offline as well in the corners, and I was just sliding more than on the dry line. So it was a difficult race, but yeah, Cam just had it at the end. You know, I kept losing the front and all the corners, and I was like, yeah, maybe it's better that I try to just savage a podium, you know, because I knew I had him behind me, and it was yeah, it was a difficult race.
We saw you moving around quite a bit out there. What was it that kind of lent to your expertise and able to manage that and still make it to the podium?
Yeah, you know, I had like a race similar to this in the World Championship, and just managing the tires and trying to figure it out. But, you know, down the straightaway with the Superbike and stuff, I mean, all three of us were just like sideways. And, you know, I actually thought I had a problem one time because I was so sideways and spinning so much. But, yeah, I just kept in the throttle and putting my head down and trying to figure out how to get to the end of the race and get here.
Now, after a season off the bike, how are you feeling about the progress that you've made finally a podium here this season?
Yeah, you know, I want to thank the whole team and Michael Kiley. He's done a great job with this whole BMW program. He's running 2 teams, and it's been absolutely great. You know, the Superstock guys have been doing so good, and the Superbike guys as well. So it's good for Hector to get a podium yesterday in the dry, and us to get a podium today here in, you know, wet and half dry. But yeah, it's really good, and I think for a team to just come in here and do that, it's very good. So I can't thank him enough for putting this whole program together and having us all ride for him.
First Medallia Superbike podium of the season for PJ Jacobsen.
And a great one, too. And really highlighting the skill he has on a motorcycle.
Well, we did say he's been around the world a bit, and of course, he's ridden in these conditions before. We also talked a lot about how that bike was unstable down the straightaways. All of them were. And you know, because, again, just the conditions the way they were. Dry tires, I don't think would have been as good. I think the wet tires were the call, but we knew that it was going to be a crazy race. Let's get back to Hannah.
Third place today goes to Danilo Petrucci. Danilo, trying to stay in touch with those front riders. Tell us about the challenges you face out there.
The start was quite good, but then since the second corner, I noticed I got no power in the first 3 gear, and then in fourth, fifth, and sixth, the bike was going fast, but I got no acceleration. And I tried to stay there, but the track was getting dry and dry every lap. So, but the problem was that I got absolutely no power, and my bike out of the corner was really slow. I try to manage as much as possible, but yeah, looking at my rear tire, there is not any more rubber on it. Yeah, I try to stay there to brake as hard as possible, but yeah, this is a really bad condition. But then, yeah, we managed for the championship. It's okay. We had fun for sure. Was a missed opportunity this morning. I had a lot of fun with the wet condition, but then, yeah, we managed to stay on the podium again. I'm happy, considering how bad is my rear tire. But yeah, thanks for my team. I think we have solved the problem we got in VIR with the engine brake. So yeah, cannot wait to go to jump again on my bike next race.
Now you've got quite a bit of time between this race and the next race, and I know there's a test scheduled in between there. What are your plans? Are you looking to do some physical therapy, get healthy again? Are you looking to accomplish before the Ridge?
Yeah, I hope that after 6 months I can get a proper recovery. But yeah, it's just a 2-week time, and next weekend I fly back home. I try to get some rest, but in the meanwhile some more to get fit, because yeah, it was another race where I'm quite injured. But yeah, we have testing next week, a pair of days. Then for the next race, I don't know actually where is the Ridge Motorsport Park in Washington. Okay, and yeah, cannot. I just can say thanks to all the fans for staying there in this bad weather. Thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure to have racing here.
A great points haul for Danilo Petrucci this weekend, rounding out our Medallia Superbike podium.
Well, it definitely answers some questions, doesn't it, Greg? I mean, we saw that he was struggling with that acceleration out of the turns, and so the fact that he couldn't get off some of those second and third gear turns, he was making up so much time on the brakes, and it would be really interesting to look at his front tire, because he was making up that time in a hard spot, especially on a soft front like that in dry conditions.
Yeah, but the team got some good information about the wet in case we ever need it again. More coming at you from Road America when we return.
There's the victory podium. We still have 2 more races to go today, Raj. So it's been a long day. I mean, we're still here at normal time. We still have some Build Train Race stuff from Royal Enfield. We've got the Mission King of the Baggers coming up. The guys still have to close out. They got about 2 more minutes left in this show. It should be airing tonight for the Medallia Superbike at 6 o'clock. So it'll actually start airing here in a little bit Central Time, 6 o'clock Central on FS2. So what do you take from Danilo Petrucci? We saw he was making his time under braking, but that's acceleration stuff. Is that stuff that they had dialed in on that bike due to the weather?
Well, I think for one, it's just not having enough time in the wet for that team, and maybe they expected it to be a little bit wetter than it was, and maybe took too much power out. You know, because whenever it's wet like that in the rain, a lot of times the teams are, you know, you take power away, and maybe they took a little too much. Maybe this morning he was sliding a little bit on the exit, and they took some power away, and maybe it was too much, or maybe there was an issue, but he was definitely losing a lot off the corners. But they'll know for next time and put that in their notes.
So yeah, it's probably just being a little too conservative on that one. Didn't have the power. And what do you have when you've got a bike or whatever, you feel like you're underpowered, you seem to push a little harder on the deceleration. That's what we were seeing out of Danilo Petrucci. So again, champagne spray for Cam Peterson, taking his 2nd win in MotoAmerica for the Superbike class. Back to the guys next door.
Medallia Superbike coverage is sponsored by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Podium celebrations, Medallia Superbike race number 2. Cameron Peterson standing on top of the box, and he gets to celebrate. And let's get right down to Hannah, who's got another champion with her.
Quite a bit of adversity for Jake Gagne throughout this weekend, as he's just over here chatting with Danilo Petrucci. Jake, tough start to the race for you. Take us through what happened and how you were able to make your way to a 4th place finish.
Yeah, it was a tough start. I got a bad start. I spun all the way off the line. It was really tricky out there. Obviously, it dried up really quick, and I kind of knew right from the get-go we were a little off, and I was struggling in some certain areas, and those 3 guys out front were rolling. So hats off to Cam, man. It's great for him to get a win for this team. After a rough day yesterday for the team, he pulled it off. So Fresh and Lean, Progressive, Yamaha, Yamalube, everybody, thank you to this team, and we'll be back swinging for the next one.
Thanks, Jake.
And see that he's just team player. I mean, 100%. Yeah. And he legitimately is happy for his teammate, because he knows, hey, he's got a great teammate who can pick it up when things go wrong. And man, did he spin. I mean, yeah, it looked like he had a boat anchor on after that start.
Yeah, really crazy when you watch back the replay of the start, how much Gagne spun all the way down to turn 1 and lost a lot of spots.
We'll have more from Road America when we return.
The American Motorcyclist Association sanctions MotoAmerica Professional Road Racing, the home of the AMA Superbike Championship. We also sanction more than 100 amateur road racing events across the country, offering member discounts on lodging and gear, and AMA member-exclusive roadside assistance options for emergencies. The AMA also supports your right to race. Backing the RPM Act, join today at AmericanMotorcyclist.com or call 1-800-AMA-JOIN.
The Cardo system for us means efficiency. When they're out there doing their laps, you can tell them what they need to work on while they're actually in the moto. We're working hard to hopefully implement it to where the guys can use it in racing. From a safety standpoint, it would be fantastic. I think it's the way to go. I think it's the way of the future, and I think it's going to be very successful.
Preparations for our final couple of races as Cam Peterson, P.J. Jacobson, Danilo Petrucci round out the Medallia Superbike. They still have to close out the show next door. Good week, bad week for Jake Gagne. I mean, I'd have to put it on the negative side for him after the mistake in race 1, then kind of a so-so ride. He was just losing points this week, but the Ridge, he seems to be pretty fast there.
Well, I mean, the rest of this season, he's really fast. Obviously, you know, yesterday's race, he kind of lost an opportunity to probably win or at least be on the podium. So that's disappointing. But luckily for him, though, you know, you got to look at the positives. He's got back in the race, got a top 5, and he's still in the points battle. He's definitely not out of it. We haven't even reached the halfway point of the year, and he's, you know, pretty close to being within a race.
When you were watching him back there in 4th, you even said he looks like he's resigned to say, okay, 4th, I'm not losing a ton. I'm only losing just a couple of points, and it was 3 points he lost to Danilo Petrucci. So that's a champion's mindset, too. Don't sit there and try and push. If something doesn't feel quite right, don't take yourself out of it in this race.
Especially in those conditions. I mean, he's definitely not at a point where he can take another 0 points.
Right.
So, you know, just made a good race today and some good decisions.
Yeah, if he had taken a 0, he'd be back in Cam Peterson's spot. He took that 0 yesterday. Let's go back next door.
Let's take a look at race 2 highlights from Medallia Superbike. And at the beginning of this one, Petrucci was the man, P.J. Jacobson, and Cam Peterson.
Yeah, it was a crazy race. I mean, these guys were going back and forth, and every lap they're having to sort out the conditions, sort out what their bikes are feeling like. This was a big double draft pass that Cam, you know, looked like Petrucci was going to go by P.J., and then Cam stuffed it up underneath Petrucci as well. And, you know, we saw that early incident between Cam and Petrucci down into turn 5 that, you know, again, was a race. It was nothing. But it could have been catastrophic. This was the last lap. PJ just couldn't get that bike to turn. Front tire was gone. Cam Peterson goes on and takes his second dry race win.
Let's take a look at those championship standings. It was Matthew Scholz who led by 1 point going into today, but Petrucci now regains the points lead. He has 7 over Scholz. Gagne 25, Cam P with his nice points haul in 4th spot. Hector Barber, Jason, unfortunately finishing in 17th position. Well, that'll do it for us for Medallia Superbike Race 2 from Road America. Make sure you join us from the Ridge in a couple of weeks' time for round number 5. For Hanalope and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for joining us. Cameron Peterson on top of the box. Can't wait to see if he can do it again in Washington.